recording audio through USB mic. I've got myself a USB mic. That's it there. I bought it from AliExpress. I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. But, you know, it looks good. I don't know if it sounds good. All I know is that when I play things back, I don't hear anything. I have to plug the mic out. I think I kind of need some headphones, you know. Anyway, enough of that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, please share the video of this Meshuggah Nutter. That will help. Anyway, so I don't see eye to eye with anybody. I've always been, I don't think I am, but I've always been, according to the feedback that I've received, an argumentative type. I don't argue for the sake of it. At least I don't think I do. I think I just don't see eye to eye with people. I do remember having thoughts when I was younger around feeling inadequate when it comes to a skill level. I felt incompetent on many things, because I don't ever recall anybody ever trying to teach me anything properly. Nobody ever sitting me down and saying, Mark, come on, let me show you how it's done. I don't know. Maybe my feeling of inadequacy preceded the feeling of inadequacy, you know. And I think it's not that I felt as if I could do it better than anybody else. I just kind of felt that if I was to show that I didn't know how to do something, then I was basically revealing a side of me that was inadequate. For sure. I never really had the discipline to sit down and focus for long periods of time on any one subject. I found my mind jumping around all over the place, and it's that prevails to this day. I rarely finish anything. Rarely. I start lots of things. To be honest with you, it's amazing. I'm amazed how I've got through life, really. But here I am, sitting here at this table, knowing that in a few hours' time, maybe later on today, maybe Sunday, I'm going to replace this table with a new one because it's arrived. My long desired table, it's arrived. And even yesterday when it arrived, my dad didn't really have a good thing to say about it. He said he thinks that I'm not going to be able to use it. And I said, why are you saying that? Why can't you just say, I wish you well to use it, son. It's a nice looking table. I think it's going to be good. It's just immediately negative on it, and I got a downer on it. But I think I know what he is thinking. But the problem with me and my dad is that we don't see eye to eye. Like I don't see eye to eye with anybody. But I craft a number of problems in my own head and solve them in my own head. I navigate what it is that I feel will go wrong with it, and I try to compensate with alternative thoughts, and this is the solution that I will employ when that occurs. And I learned that from working in a corporate environment on a not project management role, but certainly as a key user within projects. You know, when I representing the key user, I could see that there were going to be problems with particular aspects, and I thought about this table that I was going to get. Now, I had to go with the sizes that were available to me, and the size that I selected was a 4x6, because anything bigger than that would be just a little bit like what I've already got. And all I know is that the footprint for this table is just there's two tables together. You see, the footprint is just a bit too big. Me and my father are a bit too far away. We're using up a lot of space on this table just to work on a little small key area. You know, when we're picking, packing and dispatching, we don't need great big massive tables for that. We just need a small work area where we can basically reach for consumables that we need to complete the job. And we've got duplication on the table because it's so big that my dad's got his stuff on his side and I've got my stuff on my side. So for instance, we've got a duplication of scissors. all sorts of things, duplications. And I know that if we was to consolidate it, we'd make more room overall, even if the table got smaller. So I've given it a lot of thought. He doesn't see what thought I've given it on account of the fact that if I try to explain it to him, we end up having an argument every single time. Every single time. So I've given up trying to explain anything to him. Like yesterday, 2 days ago, so rather, I got a phone call from eBay basically offering me the opportunity to advertise outside and inside eBay on their promotions. And I opted in because they were giving me this free trial, and I'd already thought about it for some time about let's give it a go and see what happens. But I went to speak to him about it. He just can't talk to him, so I end up keep bottling it all up, and he loses out. He's not going to get to know what's happening because basically, on that particular subject, on that particular topic, I've got to put 100 listings of buttons into this promotion on Google. So if we should see, in theory, I'm going to be paying per click £5 a day. That's what I've gone for, just a fiver, just to see. So 5 3, it's 30 days. It's 150 quid, isn't it? Is that right? Yeah, 30 quid, £150. So if I should see my sales of buttons go up, whether or not I make enough profit to pay for the 150 quid, I don't know. But if I do, great. If I don't, I'll know that some of it works, but it's not profitable for me, and I'll just walk away from it. But if, for instance, I end up selling several £100 worth of buttons, or a couple of £1,000 worth of buttons in that month, or I'll give it 2 months, then we'll live with it because it's worth doing. I might end up with greater sales, lower profitability, but there would have been greater sales and a lower profitability that I wouldn't have had anyway if I didn't do it. So anyway, he's going to have to pick the buttons, and when it hits him, he's going to go, "What's going on here?" I said, "Well, you should have talked to me and listened to what I had to say, and then you'd know why you're having to work hard for nothing." Anyway, but the thing is, I went for a 4x6 table, and it arrived. And I know where he's coming from. He's already starting to think, well, the rolls of fabric aren't going to fit on the table when I'm cutting them. And I agree. When it's 4 foot long, it isn't, because some of the rolls of fabric are 1.5 meter long, and the rolls are going to stick over the end. But when I'm dealing with those rolls, all I need to do is to snip the end and then tear it. That's the approach that you use when you're dealing with a big roll of fabric. If that roll of fabric was put on a bolt and it was folded, because when they put it on a bolt they fold it in half, then you got to use a rotary cutter, one of these things. But even if I needed to use I needed a wider table, I'll just work the other way, and because the table's on wheels, we can turn it around, so it's not a problem. But he just sees the problems, and he thinks I haven't thought about them, because he thinks I'm 10. I'm 58. You know what I mean? Frustrating, mate. Anyway, I find that I have this kind of this problem with a lot of people. So I end up having arguments all the time, non-stop arguments wherever I go. And so I've retreated from people. I don't know. I was speaking to a customer the other day, and she said she's agoraphobic. She doesn't like going out. I'm becoming like that. I'm getting to the point where I don't like to build relationships anymore. I haven't got any friends. Don't want any friends because I end up having arguments with them. I end up upsetting them. I end up upsetting myself. Is it time to change? I'd like to change. I've tried to change, but I end up having arguments with them. So I've concluded it's best to have an argument with myself, because that way, right, if I argue with myself, I always win. Anyway, for sure I'm challenged in many areas of my life, and I battle on, and I've carved something out for myself, and it's a mess. For sure it's a mess. But recently I've started to try and make some sense of it all. I mean, everything that I've achieved here is a reflection of what goes on in my head. So I thought, if you want to change what goes on in your life, Martin, you've got to begin by changing what goes on in your head. And what I've noticed is that because I'm a fairly untidy person, when you're untidy, it attracts dust. It gets dusty, And I've concluded that the only way to actually get on top of it is to keep tidying up, keep organising. And I've realised it a few times over the last 20 odd years, but I forget about it. But recently, I realised that if you really want to make progress, Mike, you've got to keep tidying up. You've got to keep organising, because that way you identify what needs to be done. And I tend to identify these things anyhow and put them on a piece of paper, thinking that if I put them on a piece of paper on a list, they get done. They don't. The list just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've got about 5 or 6 lists on the go. I've always had five. I've always had these. I've had lists for 50 years, at least ever since I was a little kid. I've had lists of things to do. And you know something? I've got some things on those lists that I've carried forward for 30, 40 years. But they're kind of projects, and they need time. It's depressing, man. It's flipping depressing. But I'm making some progress. The table's here. I've got to assemble it. I know that as soon as I assemble it, I'm going to get some things out the way. I know that's going to happen. That's going to be my first experience, and it's going to create a little bit of space. And I'm not going to have to tiptoe around things. And whilst I've got that moment, or that period of grace, if you like, where I can basically organise, I've got to get on listing, because then I can work through my list of things to do. Of listings, I've got a list of listings to do. And it's because I tend to have, so they used to say when I was a kid, what was it? A master of all trades, a jack of all trades, and a master of none. That's me. There's this feeling that I can do anything, but I can't. I haven't got the skills. It's probably why I end up arguing with people. But in my head, I believe I can do it. I'll refuse to accept that I can't do something. I refuse, even if I can't do it, I refuse to accept it, because then I might as well just give up, Got to try. You have to try. And as long as you can craft an image of the end result, you can find a way towards it, whether you go over the wall or under the wall or round the wall or through the wall. One way, if you keep looking, eventually you'll find a way. And so, for me, I realised to find that way, it starts with tidying up. So that's what I've been doing recently. I've been tidying up and throwing away and keep the amount of rubbish I've thrown away, like just a cruise, Yeah. I still can see bits of rubbish and everything. I've got this great vacuum under the table that I bought from Aldi. The hose upstairs, but as soon as I got this table done, I'm going to have a really, really good vacuum in the entire place, because there's lots and lots of dust everywhere. I'll extract the dust out. I'm thinking that my breathing will be better, and cognitive thoughts will be better, because the reality of the matter is, if you think clean and tidy, then your behaviours will respond to those thoughts. So you'll end up cleaning up, you'll end up tidying up, you'll end up being clean. Cleanliness, right, is next to this godliness kind of concept, isn't it? You feel spiritually enriched because you're clean and tidy. Holy almost, But as soon as I get to the point where this table is assembled, then it's going to release a lot of our other activities. There's even one thing that I wake up thinking about this morning. These shelves here behind me, right? I've got, I don't know if I'll show you. I've got 2 of them. You see that one and that one? There? There's 2 of them. There's a waste of space there. I've got empty space. You see all that paperwork there? That can go elsewhere. There's a space there. I've got my computer sort of behind there, my printer. But at the top there's shelves I just don't use, especially at the top. Look, they're just empty boxes. And it's a waste of space. And the reason why is because those 2 shelves are standing on a desk. And that desk has got to go. And in order to get to that desk and get rid of it, I've got to move those shelves. And I've realised that I can basically put those shelves there. That's where they're going to go for the time being. So if I take that, see those, all that packaging there, so it's on a scaffolding board. I'm going to remove all that, put it out the way, out the back, move those, empty those shelves, drop them down to there, move that filing cabinet. I'm going to put it on one of those boards with wheels on it, because as soon as I've assembled the table, then it's going to free up a couple of them that we've got under the table. They won't need to be there. So I'll utilise that, and I'll move that filing cabinet to another place, which I'll show you later. But that's what I'm hoping to achieve by Sunday night, to get those two tables, two shelves over there, and that will all be an empty space, and it will give me free access to that desk. And in order to move the desk and get rid of it, I've got to build a smaller desk for my computers and my weighing scale and my little printer there. So more or less that footprint there where those screens are, that's where it's going to be anyway. And then I've got two more, excuse me, two more shelves up there. You can't see them at the moment. They're empty. I've prepared them already, and they're going to come down here, and they're going to be sitting next to there. All along here is going to be at normal height, 4 shelves, and it's going to enable me to move to another project, which is to move all the fabric that's on the other side of the room over behind me, and it's going to free up all those shelves over there, and it's going to enable me to do something else with that space, and so on. So I'm going to be marching through. So in the next few months, things will transform a little bit in this area here, and I'm trying to make it a little bit more retail friendly, so that if customers do come here, then there'll be more space for them to stand, because when there's me and my father here and stuff on the floor and 1 or 2 customers in here, then you just can't move. So I've got to create more space for them. So hence a smaller table makes sense. And reorganizing this area makes sense. It's going to enable me to get a lot more fabric. I've been looking. I'm going to get a lot more fabric going. I want to put a lot of it on Etsy. I'm going to split the stock, half on eBay and half on Etsy. And whichever one sells more, I'll focus on that one for that particular bolt of fabric, because the fabric will appear to different people for different reasons, you know. Anyway, in the meantime, I've been listening to a lady on YouTube. Oh, I gotta go.